It's Sunday. It's November 12th, 2023. So it's Veterans Day weekend in New York. The New Yorker, the USS New Yorker came into dock at Pier Group 88. This is what my sunlight looks like when I go outside. I went to the community that Lewis and Linda sent me to while I was growing up in whatever was going on in the year 1988, for which I still not clear on. Um, but a child of the GOD nonetheless. Um, so I am. So it's Sunday, so I went to the local service with my son. I'm keeping an eye on the only news that I can hear from or of. I found this movie, or it found me, something called a draft day. I guess if I think astrologically or cosmologically, being that, like, Brady, part of the Brady Bunch, is the only relevant star in the entire set of the label of the NFL. Although, again, like, there's the Manning triplets. I don't know who belongs where, but astrologically, there's, it's like, again, it's a big galaxy with lots of stars and whatever. And the nebulous is whatever the nebulous is in nuclear science. So, I found this very, like, I know somewhere in the world, like the real world, there is a Georgetown rep that is very admirable amongst his own, that looks a lot like Kevin Costner. Again, I mean, like, he was blessed by the gods with the look of Kevin Costner, even as he ages. So, I get that level of messaging in a kind of, sort of, but not really way from Coach's Corner, I suppose, to just one of the children of the GOD. Um, so I started to watch the movie, but it is so heavily immersed in some football culture that I was never, again, I was not given an entryway. I mean, I have the meeting with the VIP MVP. Um, I've had several collection units where, on the CMA Awards, they have this girl, Kelsey Ballerino, singing about she never wants to forget herself. And I'm just like, right, I guess that's my hour amongst the GOD, to remind myself that the Americans failed twice at producing the correct partnership for a lifelong anything. So I will just keep carrying my security guard on my shoulders by myself in, like, the great NBC, to quote the great NBC, depending on what fails, right? Yeah. So there's that, and I know that the Kevin Costner and his pretend to be an NFL rep, because maybe that's what's comfortable in, like, protocol and how the office is built and what kind of, in a paradox, looks familial, um, with different teams set up in some way that the Chiefs and Taylor Swift and this other guy that plays NFL is, like, all the rage right now, and trending things, for all the fans of such thing and lifestyle and culture. So I'm watching that, and then I'm like, all right, so I'm stuck with these New York Giants in Madagascar has Alex the lion, and I'm like, yeah, again, I get the messages for next gens. And so I'm sitting here, and then I'm listening to the Jets person. Oh, and then I saw one of the Manning triplets was a little upset. There seems to be some tension between, I mean, like, I don't pick it up, but then again, I don't follow their I'm not part of their conference. They've never like really invited me in. Like I got to go to one football game, and that was like in my 40s before the pandemic. So, let's see. So I'm listening to their coaches corner this weekend. Uh and I'm just finding, because I'm thinking somewhere in the parallel reality. I mean, being that the West Wing has a senator from DE now in DC, and knowing there's some real serious stuff going on in my local NY, um, I'm just listening to this week's coaching session from the like professional sports league of like what? Yeah. I'll have to try to figure out and finish that draft movie. It's called Draft Day with Kevin Costner. Again, this is all new to me. So I'm watching, oh, and somehow like I taped Draft Day on purpose. Because Kevin Costner was in it, and of course I know whenever I see him it's someone from the admirable league of perhaps the peer group 88. I don't know. It's a big ocean and sea out there. So, but I listen for messengers, and then I try to grasp it depending on where I am in my struggles on the land. So, for words of wisdom from the God. And so I'm watching that, and then all of a sudden I don't watch the Channel 4 11 o'clock news. Somehow on the DVR it taped. Again, it's a magical remote, I suppose. It just taped by itself on the Verizon box. And so I watched through it, and that was very really where it was like, oh my gosh, words of wisdom from the local, um something about a Zach Wilson, and then a household name from my youth. Oh my gosh. Like you talk about Yankees, I only know Steinbrenner. I don't know a single other Yankee out there. So, where I would go to vacation in Florida, he lived in that. I mean, like it was the kids were like it was just like like Steinbrenner lives down here. Like I didn't know what that meant, but like now in my adulthood, I thinking that that was like little kid for like, psst, this might be important as we get older. Never met the man, just knew that he lived. He was like the myth of the neighborhood for wherever I was when I would go vacation for the summers. So here we are.
Devils and Avalanche are tied at one after one. The Jets are sticking with Zach Wilson. Following another dismal offensive performance last night, head coach Robert Saleh defended his embattled signal caller after failing to reach
Oh, his signal caller after failing to reach something. That's interesting.
the end zone last evening. Gang Green has just 3 offensive touchdowns in the last 4 games. But Wilson was sacked 8 times, so it's not entirely his fault.
It'd be one thing if it was just him, right? It is the easy thing to do. He's the most, him and the play caller are the two most visible things. So when things aren't good, it's easy to blame them. Like I said, he could be a lot better. It's lazy to just put it all on him. You know, I think, like I said, it was collective all the way across the board.
We leave the final words tonight to Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner, who met with the media this afternoon. How would he sum up the 2023 season?
It was awful. I mean, we accomplished nothing. We didn't win a division.
This is how I feel. Like he's almost like the spokesperson for my life at the moment. It's like the way he's coming across is really how I've lived in New York the last 45 years. Like expecting the God to have their stuff together and have some form of teams that they know where when it comes of season, and there are children involved, and there are special flowers, there are special trees, there are special orchards, there's going to be special clocks, there's special calcaneus calculus. I would have expected better from the American team in protecting their own. as far as a woman being born in New York in the year 1978 and knowing in projections and cosmology and however the magical wizards work in the land of it's so hard to believe, it's hardly fathomable, but yet it's been happening for thousands and thousands of years. And they put it under this label of God. And then it's on my general system of George Washington, where it's in God we trust, in the WE. So that's like the West and the East. Right, here we are. Not to upset the South, because again, I know in the peace sign, it's a pie chart of sorts.
Didn't make it to the playoffs, didn't win a series in the playoffs, much less a championship. I went over the winning record. That's a requirement as far as I'm concerned. So the fans didn't get anywhere close to what they deserve.
Hal said he talked with players before deciding to bring back manager Aaron Boone. Steinbrenner also said there's going to be some big changes, and he said everything is on the table when it comes to free agents. We'll be right back.
So again, I'm listening to these relevant, it's time sequenced at this point. I'm in the throes of it, just kind of thrown in, been waiting around. Somehow it feels like I got put in a penalty box or benched like early in my life and never able to get out of that. So at this point, I'm just documenting for my own safety and security. And when I hear that country music from Kelsey Ballerini about not wanting to forget herself, I think of, there's some verse in there. And for me, there's a scene in Designated Survivor where one of the FBI persons, or what they're claiming to be an FBI person, some guy comes from behind and hits her with something, and then she just goes out. And it's, if you have to tell a story from that perspective, which I have, and which, whatever, the story does not tell the whole picture. And the whole picture to that person, when that person wakes up, it's confusing. It's very, very confusing. And I don't know anybody who wishes to live that way. I don't. To explain somebody else's season, perhaps, like I don't even know the words or how they're calibrating this at this point. But this is so those are the words of wisdom on this program that I don't normally watch, but taped right after I taped this movie, and it's in this system. So it's star 19780. And here, this is on. So at like the White House level with Jackson, this is the monetary system still. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Oh, actually, one quick thing on that. So, my mother asked me to go on her behalf to CVS, which I did, to pick up one of her prescriptions. And while I was there, now with other things that I've been inquiring about, there's something like she has this gigantic copay with her medications, and it's a medication that I can't even verify that she really needs. And when I speak to her about it, she says to me, right, but the doctor, he puts me on this test, whatever, and I don't want to go into it, but because I know which road this goes down. But it concerns me that the insurance companies aren't even paying for these prescriptions, that it's a large amount for her. And then what is this difference between what is a generic? How does that get started? Who's involved with that and the regulatory of it? Who's involved with the name brands? Um, and I was at something called CVS, um, and there was some other stuff that was going on. I walked in, and Santa is always and has always been a white, jolly, fat old man. That's just his signature look. It's name, image, likeness. Now, all of a sudden, this season, for whatever reason, in New York, they have out a dark skinned Santa in the exact same outfit, and you have a choice of either one standing next to each other. And that's in CVS pharmacy in New York City. I'm not all right with this. I don't know who made this decision. I don't know what it's crypt for. But it is, again, trying to rebrand something that is taught a very specific way for reasons that I can't verify. I don't know why. But it's not all right. At the same time, my mom, like, if I just, I mean, like, to go into like my credited, merited studies is the epidermis of the top of the skin on the top of the hands, on the dorsal side of the hand, um, at times looks almost like crepe, which means there's some kind of metabolic deficiency. I On the top of the tongue right now, I can see I can see this is all swollen under here. I can't seem to get rid of it. I can see the shadowing differences on my skin. My skin is not like it's supposed to be. I feel terrible. I'm I've blown up by like 30 extra pounds that I can't seem to lose. I keep going in weekly for these, like the 6 hour treatment. Um, they call it hydration. But my metabolic panel is not right. Um, and at this point, the top of the tongue, I ate something at church today, and the top of my tongue is now numb, almost like an ambisol, but like with a little bit of some kind of oil to it as well, like an oily after flavor. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's something, and again, it's innocent enough. It's at church. So I don't know if it's one of the products being sold in the area, one of the chemistries that perhaps got changed. Again, I don't know who's running FDA. I don't know who's heading it up in New York. I don't know any of the federal agency representatives in New York. I don't know who's in charge of them either, which is very concerning for my person. But again, there's a lot of concerning things going on. Um, and so I'm concerned about the, like, there used to be like a thickness and a plumpness to my skin. There used to be clarity underneath the epidermal surface. Um, there is some real serious biochemistry changes going on, and not self-contained. It's coming through some kind of vector. I don't know if it's partially due to the increased hygienic procedures with the soaps in the dispensary at, like, say, work, and the ones that are now on the shelves in New York. I don't know who's product testing these. I don't know who's writing the research. I don't know if they're even coming in through a language that can be trusted and understood. Again, I don't know who's running the universities. I don't know who's running policies and procedures at the moment. But I have great concern when I go in, and now it's no longer just English. There's now all sorts of, and I've snapped a photo of it and put it on my Facebook before, of the different varieties of language that they're trying to translate into. And for me, that level of diversity, when you need one level, Like if you want the optimum peak performance and health, you need one language system, one standard language of operation. And right now I see Arabic, Russian, Chinese, Mandarin, like there's just all of these languages that make no sense to me whatsoever. Um, and I'm concerned in New York for my health, for the way my health is deteriorating, for the future, which is my children, um, and for what is or might be trying to control some of these vectors through some sectors within the industry, within industries that America and the Federal Reserve and that management system is supposed to have control over, um, but for operational safety. So it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.